Happy new month, traders. I hope you had a fantastic and profitable last month. Welcome to the first analysis for the month of June, and we are going to be kicking things off with gold. Now, on gold, we can obviously see the candle with which we closed for last month right here. Gold has been super bullish on the monthly time frame. However, we are experiencing some kind of pullbacks on the weekly time frame and on the daily time frame, basically on the lower time frame. So we are going to be pulling back into certain areas before we continue the bullish push, right? So we want to take advantage of that, and that is exactly what I'm going to be explaining in this video. Of course, I'll give my plan A and plan B as usual. We can see this bearish weekly engulfing candle from 2 weeks ago. Then last week also, like I rightly predicted, I was more bearish than bullish. Now, if we go to the daily time frame, my target for last week was around here. If you remember, well, let's revisit last week's video to see when I said that. Now I can say that price is actually targeting these areas here. Let me even put a line there for easy identification. I'll just put it here. Welcome back, guys. So you can see we are still pointing in that direction. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame and see how we can take advantage of that and what was also said last week. So last week I was bearish and I was of the opinion that price will pull back into this area so that we can now trade all the way to this downside into 2283.000. Let's revisit last week's video. And another scenario could be for price to go for a buy to this point, which is 2374.700 area. So go for a buy to sell scenario. Welcome back, guys. So you can notice that price failed to come into that zone. As a matter of fact, we pulled up a little bit, came very close into that zone, well, into this demand level, right? And then price dropped. However, we're still correct on the idea that price was going to be bearish for last week. And my analysis remains the same as last week. So two things I will be expecting going into next week is for price to either take out this zone here. Let me put a line there. So take out this 2327 area, break below it, go back for a retest before we trade into the downside. Something like this. Retest. Then our next target remains 2283. And we could also see price still pull back up from here, come back into the zone like I mentioned last week, which is 2371.328 region before we sell off. Now, these are my bearish scenarios. I am more bearish than bullish going into next week. But what if a 4-hour candlestick closes above 2371.328 region? What if a 4-hour candlestick closes above there? So I'll go to a lower time frame like the 15 minutes time frame, wait for pullbacks into that area, something like this. Wait for pullback into that area, then we'll trade into these targets here. All right, that's my bullish scenario. But my final bullish scenario will be if price finds enough momentum to break above 2401.894. If price finds enough momentum to break above it, then I'll go to a much lower time frame, wait for pullbacks into that area. Then we're going to be trading at least to these most obvious highs. Remember, the theme of these videos are weekly analysis. All right. If I'm looking at the monthly analysis, of course, I'll tell you the monthly target. But since we're talking about weekly analysis, so if this happens next week, this is going to be my next target. All right. So you can see how I've given you my plan A, which is the bearish scenario. So which means I'm kind of 60 to 70 to 80% bearish. But if that fails, then this is how to take advantage of the bullish moves. All right. So that is that on gold. The next thing I talked about last week was US30. So US30 last week, this was what I had to say. Scenario one is, since this is an absolutely bullish trending market, I am actually expecting price to bounce off within these zones. And if we see a confirmation, win or lose, if I'm trading this, I'm going to execute if my entry strategy is being met. Welcome back, guys. So you can see, yes, price did break shy of the zone I was bullish from, but of course I don't know what your entry strategy looks like, but we didn't get any bullish confirmation at that zone. So price faked out, and based on my analysis, my bearish side of things, I was like, price has to come back into here and give us a bearish pattern. And here was when I said that if price eventually now breaks below this 38,305 points, 25 region, wait for a pullback, look for my entry criteria to be met, then I will sell. So welcome back, guys. You can see price didn't also give us a bearish pattern. So if price had, maybe after breaking below here, pull back into that zone and gave us a bearish confirmation, and we still ended up losing the trade, then we should have taken an L. So both ways, both the bullish and bearish scenarios, of course, if you wait for confirmation, you wouldn't have taken the bulls and you wouldn't have taken the bears, right? But now we can clearly see that price actually manipulated into this demand level here, which I should have pointed out last week, but I didn't. So price manipulated into that demand level, and now we are back trading into, we are back into my buy zone. So I am still bullish going into next week. All right, I am still bullish, so I'll expect price to maybe range for a bit before we continue higher. Why is that? First of all, let's look at how we closed for last month. This is last month's candle right here, so it's bullish, right? So I'll be expecting a bullish month, and not just that, price is even overall bullish on US30. So I'll be expecting that continuous bullish move to the upside. Let's go to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we can see that strong bullish candlestick. If I had placed my zone around here this week here, let me move this down. This particular week here wouldn't have been manipulated. All right, but it is what it is, right? So I'm just going to put the zone back to how it was. And yes, so going into next week, I will expect continuous bullish push to the upside. My target is 40,062.20 on US30. We are still going to range a little bit, but that is my target. But to go bearish, let's say price is actually committed to going bearish. So what I would like to see is for price to break back down below this lowest low that was created last week, create a new lower low around that region, then go back for a pullback just like I mentioned last week, and then we trade to the downside here, which is around 36,673.15. So those are my bullish and bearish scenarios, but I am more bullish, actually. I am more bullish on this US30. All right, so that is that on US30. The next thing to look out for, the next thing we're going to be looking at is DXY. Now on DXY, first of all, let's see how we closed for last month. So what I want you to notice on DXY is since the 3rd of January 2023, which was last year, price, since when price came into this zone, price has been ranging. So basically on DXY, we've been ranging for the past 1 year. All right, and that's why sometimes when we are expecting price to fly to the upside, it still comes back down and all of that. I was actually expecting price to go on, create a new higher high, and then we now have a certified bullish move to the upside. However, price did close bearish for last month, and that's a worry. All right, so we may be bearish this month. We may be bearish this month because after all, we are in a range on the monthly time frame. So let's go to the weekly time frame. That doesn't mean we can't trade. We can still see good trading opportunities. So on the weekly time frame, let me delete where this range started, and let's have a cleaner chart, right? So on the weekly time frame, just like I mentioned last 2 weeks, price is still in a bullish trend, at least between this zone to this zone. What do I mean? Well, this is what I'm talking about. On the weekly time frame, price rallied from this point to this point, created a high, a higher low, then a higher high. So I'm expecting that this will be our higher low for price to go on to create a new higher high. But remember, we just closed bearish for last month, so anything could happen. But first of all, this is what I would like to see play out, this bullish push, because you have to trade what is right in front of you while you expect the worst too. And that is why we usually have plan A and plan B on our weekly videos. So, but if we see a weekly bearish candle close below this trend line and below this zone that has been tested multiple times, looking left, as you can see, now we are back there. All right, so if you can see a weekly candlestick close below that zone like this, then I'll be expecting a pullback. Then we are going to trade to these obvious lows here. All right, that will be our next target, and that will be a massive bearish move to the downside. All right, sorry, I had a little bit of a break there. So if price breaks, if we have a weekly candlestick close below here, then a pullback, then I would like to see price fall into this zone here, which is 101.635. All right, 101.635. That will be my next target. All right, but let's go to a much lower time frame and see how we can take advantage of this move. So I'll go all the way down to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, guys, we have to be patient on DXY. We have to be patient on DXY. So DXY, I'm going to give a bullish and bearish scenario. As a matter of fact, I'm coming to the daily time frame to do this. So for price to go bearish, then let's be patient to see. I mean, if you're not a day trader, right, or maybe you don't have a strategy that allows you to take trades within these zones, then if you're looking to hold trades for a much longer period of time, then I'd advise you wait for price to come in the clear for this bearish push here, which means breaking below 104.121. So give us a new lower low, breaking below all this trend line and all these zones here. Come back for a pullback before we trade into our next target, just like I mentioned on the weekly time frame. And for price to go bullish, then we need to bounce off this trend line, because this trend line is still holding as we speak. So we need to push higher, create a new higher high here, which is breaking above the 105.094 region. Then we'll go to a much lower time frame, wait for pullbacks into that zone. Then we can now trade to this most obvious highs here around 107.091. So guys, you just need to think in probabilities. That is how to take advantage of the market. All right, so I'm not going to go to the lower time frames here since I don't trade the DXY. So I'll just go to currency pairs, starting with GBPUSD. So GBPUSD, I'm going to spend some time here on GBPUSD. All right, first of all, let's see how, since we are in a new month, let's see how we closed for last month. You can see how we closed with a solid bullish engulfing candle last month. All right, and I also want you to notice something, just like we did on DXY. Price is currently ranging, as you can see here. I mean, since the 1st of December 2023, when price came into the zone, price has basically been ranging sideways, been moving sideways, no significant move up or down, and this can be annoying, right? However, we just closed with a bullish engulfing candle. So let's go to the weekly time frame now. Something even more interesting is happening on the weekly time frame. Price is trading at this trend line. As you can see, let's focus on more recent price action. You can see price from this point created a new lower low that is obviously lower than this low, now has gone back to complete the third touch of that trend line. And I want you to notice something, because this candlestick speaks to us, if you understand the concept, the anatomy of candlestick pattern, right? You can see after tapping in for the third time, you can see the dodgy candlestick, and dodgy candlestick is an indecision candlestick. So it was more like a tug of war between buyers and sellers, right? As you can see here. So what does this mean? It means we can easily see price fall from there. But I'm not one to just come on this video and be like, hey, price will definitely do this. I'll only tell you I am expecting more of this without forgetting about what if I am wrong. All right. So I'm not a kind of forex trader that will be like, I am so sure this is going to happen. No. I just have a higher probability that this is going to happen, because at the end of the day, the emphasis is usually on the probability. So the market doesn't care about me. If I like, I could say, I am sure this is going to happen, and it's never going to happen. The market doesn't care about me. Neither does it care about any one single trader in the world. It reacts to the behavior of traders around the collective behavior of traders around the world. All right. So yeah, why it is highly likely that price is going to fall to the downside from this point, well, we don't want to ignore what if price continues higher. Well, let's continue. I'm going to show you how to take advantage of the bulls and the bears side of this. So let's see if there's anything interesting on the daily time frame. Well, nothing interesting, of course, even though I know last 2 weeks I was like, I'd like to see price break, retest before rally to the upside, which has happened. But well, you can still notice a pattern on this daily time frame. Price looks like we are going into a range, right? But well, let's go to a much lower time frame, like the 4-hour time frame. Before we talk about the 4-hour time frame, let me show you what I talked about on the 15 minutes time frame last week. So on the 15 minutes time frame, price was trading below this zone last week. Price was trading below this zone last week, and if you remember, I plotted this zone above here. Initially, I would like to see price pull back before we trade to the upside, but I now give a plan B that what if price fails to give that pullback before we trade to the upside? Well, wait for price to break above, come back for a retest, and then we trade into this target here. If you doubt me, let's revisit last week's video. And so my bullish scenario right now is for price to create a new higher high, break above this region, come back for a retest, go to a much lower time frame, and buy into these highs here, which will give us a 98 pip move to the upside. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price played out perfectly. We tapped into that zone before we saw any form of rejection. Now, going into next week, I'll start from the 15 minutes time frame, right? Even though we are trading at a trend line on the higher time frame, which may mean price will most likely fall, well, we don't want to ignore the bullish side of things. And because of that, I'm going to drag this zone to the far right here. And you can notice the price is still trading around that zone. Even though we broke below it, we retested it, we came down, we went back, we came down, blah, blah, blah. So price could easily continue trading down. But if by any chance price finds enough momentum to break above that zone, what is even that zone? Let me put a line there for easy identification. So that zone is actually 1.27577. All right. So if price is committed to continuing upward, then we would like to see price break above that 2.27577 on this 15 minutes time frame, come back for a retest, then we can trade back into this zone here. So let me refine that target. That target will now be 1.279.18 or anything close to that. No, so that's on the 15 minutes time frame. And of course, if you can catch an entry, let's say your entry confirmation play out around here, all right, your stop loss can be below here, all right, and you can get a decent 2 to 1, 1k to 2004, anything around that figure, if you get the point. All right, so that's the bullish idea on this 15 minutes time frame. However, let's go to maybe the 4-hour time frame to reanalyze this properly. So we're going to look for bullish and bearish scenario. Let me go to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, remember last 2 weeks, or was it last 3 weeks, price was trading around here, and I was like, I'd like to see price break above, retest before we trade all the way to the upside, giving us this 98 pip move to the upside. This was when I said that in that video. And so my bullish scenario right now is for price to create a new higher high, break above this region, come back for a retest, go to a much lower time frame, and buy into these highs here, which will give us a 98 pip move to the upside. So welcome back, guys. You can see that 98 pip move to the upside has been fulfilled, but we are not talking about, let's quit talking about the past and focus in the future. So guys, to go, if actually price is going to go bearish based on what we saw on that weekly trend line, right? So this is going to be a tricky one, guys. This is going to be a tricky one. Let me go to the daily time frame and just explain this. I don't want to spend too much time here, or let me go back to the 4-hour time frame. Meanwhile, let me delete all of this noise here. I'll leave my 15 zone. I'll limit my 15 zone to the 15 minutes time frame. So guys, on the higher time frame perspective, let's say you're a swing trader and you don't want to trade in between zones on the lower time frame like I just showed you on the 15 minutes time frame. So as a swing trader, guys, what I will advise is if you want to buy, except if you're already in a buy, right, then you're fine. But I'm talking about for those that may not already be in a trade yet, for you to buy, guys, it is advisable you wait for price to clear that upper trend line from the weekly time frame, which is this trend line. This is what it looks like on the 4-hour time frame. So which means you need to wait for price to continue higher, clear out the trend line and this zone here, which is 1.28014. all right, wait for price to clear that zone, come back for a retest, then you can trade to the upside, and our first target will be here. All right, then our subsequent target will be all the way up around here, which is 1.30946. That is if price is committed to trading higher. All right, Then price could also come back and tap into this trend line below here. Price could come and tap into this trend line below before we also still make that move to that same those same targets I mentioned earlier. All right. But for bearish possibility, for bearish move, let's say price wants to be bearish next month, then guys, as a swing trader, we will have, my goodness, I can't explain all of these ideas in a YouTube video. So guys, do yourself a favor, grab our mentorship program. We are starting June session on Monday, which is the 3rd of June. So please and please take advantage of that. But well, let's continue. If you want to buy the program, if you want to pay for our mentorship programs, that's fine. And if you don't want to, that's completely fine. So, but let's just continue with the analysis. So I would refine my trend line because we are more bullish than bearish right now. So for me to start going bearish, I have to be very, very careful. I have to make sure that I have been patient enough and price has come to all the zones that it was supposed to buy from and still didn't buy from there, and now it is committed to going bearish. And that is why I'm going to refine my trend line, capturing one and this bottom point here, 2, and I'll extend it into the future, and I will wait for price to do its thing, maybe give us a head and shoulders pattern here, continue lower, but I'd like to actually see price break below this zone that aligns with the third touch of this trend line. That is the last point I'll be expecting GBP to buy from. I mean, if GBP is actually bullish like it said it is, then it should bounce off from this point. Right? It should bounce off from this point or bounce off from this point. But if it doesn't and we break below it, and that point I'm talking about is around 1.26488, break below that zone, come back for a retest, and then come here, maybe give us some kind of a pullback also before breaking below it. But guys, if we can break below this zone here, which is around 1.25763, if we can break below it, come back for a retest, guys, we have a long move to the downside. So our next target will be here. All right, 1.23305. So I spent time here, but I'm not going to spend any more time. Just make sure you rewatch this GBP. If you trade GBP, rewatch this segment very well to better understand all the ideas I painted right here. All right, so that is that on GBPUSD. So last on my list is gold. Wow, this is a long video. I didn't mean for it to be this long, so I'm not going to spend time on EURUSD. So EURUSD, I have a buying and selling scenario. We closed super bullish for the month of January. So if price is committed to going bullish, just like I did last week, I'd like to see price take out this upper trend line, create a new higher high, breaking above all these zones that price has been struggling with for the past couple of weeks, come back for a retest before we trade to this obvious daily zone. All right, time is not going to permit me to show you where those zones are coming from or blah blah blah, but that is that for the bullish side of things. And for the bearish side of things, guys, I like to see price break below this 1.07964 area, break below it, create a new lower low, breaking below this lower point, come back for a retest before we trade to the downside, with here being our first target, which is 1.07263, and here being our second target. Right, was that our second target? So we'll put a line there, which is 1.06523. All right, so that is that for this week's analysis, guys. If you made it this far and you are yet to hit that subscribe button, you are yet to like this video, you are yet to share this video, you're also yet to leave a comment. Guys, I noticed that you don't like leaving a comment on our videos. I don't know why. All right, the views are pushing higher and I have you to thank for that. But guys, leave us a comment in the comment section. The comment can be you disagree with my analysis and this is why, because I like constructive and criticism. So I disagree, this is why. Or if you agree, just say I agree. Just leave us some comments in the comment section below. I don't know why it's not engaging. Maybe I should just turn off the comment section and just leave it to likes and views. All right, but I think the comment section is here for me to better understand how I can better serve you guys. All right, so once again, that is that for this week's analysis. I wish you a successful trading I wish you a successful trading month. I wish you a successful trading week, and I'm going to see you in our next video. Bye, guys.